Hello, pattern readers, and welcome back to part 6 of the Great Hunt reread, in which we meet Celine. Do I really need to say anything else? Let's get to it.
Chapter 15, Kinslayer.
Rand, Huron, and Loyal continue to feel sick as they travel through the mirror world, as the distant hills seem to slide towards them. There are also burned, blackened patches on the land, though they appear to be very old. The water is drinkable, but there's no sign of life except some grass, leaves, and some odd, smoky streaks across the sky. Once, Loyal stops to take hold of a tree and sings his glorious tree song. When he's done, he's holding a smooth, tall quarterstaff. Eerily, he tells Rand that he got a sense from the tree that the land was happy that a weapon had been made. As they continue on, Rand notices that Huron appears more worried, and he asks him if he still has the trail. Huron says that he does, but that it's odd, like he's remembering it. Everyone is puzzled, but Rand encourages him and they continue on until nightfall, although Rand notices that he can't see a single sign of a trail the entire day. Rand's mind is troubled with thoughts of Fane, and he works sword forms to try to clear his mind. Rand takes first watch and watches long into the night. Suddenly, a fog rises and he hears a voice. "Swords do no good against me. You should know that, Lews Therin." He sees Baalzamon and thinks he must be dreaming. Baalzamon tells him that he could find him anywhere, that he stands out like a beacon fire in the pattern, and that they are tied together like two sides to a coin. Rand does not believe him and takes comfort in noticing that Baalzamon does not disturb the fog. Baalzamon looks over Huron and Loyal, sleeping, and notes that Rand always finds odd followers, also referencing a girl who tries to watch over him. Baalzamon also mentions his own followers among the Aes Sedai, insinuating even that Moiraine might be one of them. Rand continues to deny him. Baalzamon says they have fought countless times before, but this time the wheel will be broken. "Serve me, serve Shaitan, or be destroyed forever." Rand feels darkness engulfing him at the name, but he denies him and calls upon the light in the Creator, and the darkness seems to retreat. Baalzamon removes his mask, revealing a horribly burned face. He offers to teach Rand, to give him protection from the taint of Saidin, but when Rand again denies him, his eyes and mouth burst into flames. Rand's sword becomes hot and he drops it. He sees his clothes burning up in flames, and he reaches for the source and almost channels. And then the flames and Baalzamon are gone, and Rand thinks he must have imagined them. But his palm has a burn like a brand in the shape of a heron from his sword.
Chapter 16, In the Mirror of Darkness.
In the morning, Huron scolds Rand for staying up all night, and Rand is evasive, especially when Loyal notices a kerchief wrapped around his right hand, and Rand snaps that it's nothing. They ride for about an hour without any sign, and then notice a spire in the distance. Huron thinks it might be a monument to Hawkwing's victory, which was torn down in their own world. But Loyal says that should still be 3 or 4 days ahead of them. Around midday, they're near enough to see what looks like a hawk on top, and Rand, thinking it is the Hawkwing monument, gallops toward it over Loyal's objection. When he reaches it, it becomes clear that it is instead a Trolloc monument with a raven on top. In this world, the Shadow must have defeated Hawkwing here. Loyal also points out that it looks like they will reach mountains before nightfall, and unless this world is completely different, they must be Kinslayer's dagger, which are 100 leagues south of the Eranin. Rand blurts out that maybe this place is like the Ways, and they all grow more uneasy. Suddenly, they hear the scream of a woman to the south of them, and Rand gallops off toward her without hesitation. He sees a woman using a branch to fend off a bear-sized creature with the hide of a frog, a wide beak of a mouth, and 3 eyes. He hits it with an arrow, but it has no effect. The woman calmly tells him he has to hit an eye. Rand knows he has to seek the void, and he does so. hits the eye, and it falls. The woman rides her horse over to him, giving him praise for killing what she calls a Grolm. He introduces himself and Huron and Loyal as his friends, and the woman replies, I am called Celine. You have risked your life and saved mine. I am yours, Lord Rand al'Thor. Rand stumbles over his own tongue a bit and feels naked in front of her. He immediately pictures her naked as well and blushes furiously. Smooth Rand. Celine says she is from Cairhien and that she took a nap and woke up here. Doesn't know how she got here. Rand agrees to help her, but he also says they must continue to track the men he is following. Huron blurts out that it is Dark Friends and Trollocs who have stolen the Horn of Valir that they are following. As Celine rides with them, she talks to Rand about how great he will be when he has recovered the horn, and she notices his hand and insists on putting a salve on it, which works as well as one of Nynaeve's. Rand asks if she is Aes Sedai, and she denies this and even seems to scorn them. She falls back to talk with Loyal. Later, when she's talking to Huron, Loyal joins Rand and tells him that according to Celine, he was correct about the ways. Aes Sedai, who studied worlds like this, where distance is shorter, made the ways accordingly. In other mirror worlds, it is time that is different. Rand questions how Celine could know this, and Loyal attributes it to the Royal Library of Cairhien. When Celine joins him again, she praises his shot, and Rand tells her about using the void. She calls it the oneness and encourages him to wrap himself in it continuously. He asks her how she knows about mirror worlds, and she tells him about a book, Mirrors of the Wheel. She tells him about a nearby portal stone and encourages him to go to it and take them home. Rand wants to stick with the trail and asks Celine to stay with him. Suddenly, 5 Grolm appear in the distance.
Chapter 17. Choices.
Rand wants to run, and Celine tells him they can't. He must either kill the Grolm or they make for the portal stone. Rand sets up to shoot. With 5 arrows, he takes out each Grolm one by one. In the void, he senses Saidin. This time, he reaches for it, and it fills him. This time, when he lets go of it, he wants to go back for more. But they hear the sound of more Grolm, many more this time. And finally, Rand is convinced to go for the portal stone. Celine leads them into the hills, and when they reach the portal stone, she tells Rand he must use it. She shows him a symbol on the stone that represents the true world. The Grolm are nearing. Rand reaches for Saidin, easily this time, and it fills him. He touches the symbol. He feels heat and light searing him, and he wants more. The world flickers. He screams in pain and wanting. Hands pull at him, and he lets the power go. They have returned home safely. Celine praises him and looks deep into his eyes, making him want to kiss her. Rand asks her not to say anything about what he did, and Celine looks annoyed. Rand asks Huron to find the trail again, and Celine interjects. She knows something about mirror worlds, and she explains that Huron had been following the trail of where the horn would be. The Dark Friends never left the true world, and they're now actually behind them. It will take a few days for Fane to catch up to where Rand is. Rand seems skeptical, and Loyal is no help, but Celine is insistent. Rand finally agrees to wait for Fane, and he tells Huron to find where they lost the trail and a place to camp away from the portal stone.
The remainder of this video contains spoilers for the entire Wheel of Time series. If you do not want to be massively spoiled, stop here or proceed at your own risk.
I wish I could tell you I understood exactly how Ishamael manages to appear to Rand in the mirror world. It seems like he's not there physically because he doesn't disturb the mist. But it also is tempting to say things function the way they do in Teleron Riyadh. But Rand isn't asleep, and this doesn't follow Ishamael's previous pattern of pulling Rand into a dream shard. The flames that Rand sees on his clothes don't do any damage, but the heat on his sword was real and leaves a real burn on his palm. I lean towards the idea that Ishamael was there in the flesh, but maybe not fully, similarly to the way he appeared to Fane outside of Shadar Logoth when he flickered. Fane reported that to Moraine at the end of The Eye of the World. We know that Ishamael was never completely 100% bound in the Dark One's prison, but we also haven't seen him 100% free yet. He seems more solid here, but maybe not completely. It's also never a good idea to take too much of what Ishamael says as fact, but some of the things that he says that seem to be true are that he and Rand are tied together and have been throughout time. He also mentions Egwene trying to watch over Rand, and we know that's true from the previous Egwene chapter. By the way, when Ishamael says that if Egwene had a whole lifetime to grow, she could never be strong enough to protect him, I just got sad thinking about how she never gets a whole lifetime to grow. The darkness that is behind Ishamael and seems to grow when he says the name Shaitan also seems to retreat when Rand denies him. I would cautiously say this seems to be Ishamael's connection to the Dark One himself. And it's also a hint, again, that Ishamael is not the Dark One, in case anyone reading this for the first time still thought he might be. As for Celine, there are like 1,000 hints that she's not who she says she is. Let's run through some of them. She screams to draw attention, but then appears oddly calm when Rand appears. She knows the name of the Grolm, which she never really explains. She has a very thin tale about how she got there. She seems to heal Rand's hand when she uses a salve, which works as well as Nynaeve's. We know that when Nynaeve is using her herbs and remedies, she's really channeling a lot of the time. She knows way too much about the ways, portal stones, mirror worlds, and she calls Loial a lantern, which is something Rand has never heard. Her appearance even changes a little, with her initially looking like she's about Nynaeve's age, and later a bit younger, more like Rand's age. It's awfully convenient that the Grolm show up right when she's trying to convince him to go for the portal stone, and then a whole bunch more after he manages to kill the first 5. Basically, I wouldn't blame you if you didn't totally figure out this was Lanfear the first time, but I also wouldn't be totally surprised if you did. It's just obvious there's something going on with her. Even Rand can figure that out, and that's with his brain taking an immediate dive south as soon as he sees her. So let's talk about the relationship between Celine and Rand, and at the same time, Lanfear and Lews Therin, because I think you can get an idea of why these two could never work out, even if you remove the fact that one of them joins the shadow and the other one resists. Celine wants Rand to be great. She's in this for the power and the glory. She pushes him towards channeling any way that she can, and she really isn't subtle about it. She pushes him towards the horn. And Rand just does not want to give in. His instinct is to resist. And that's even though she is insanely beautiful and has him immediately thinking about getting naked with her and then marrying her for light's sake. And it's not just him. She has a really dramatic effect. Huron blurts out a huge secret the second he opens his mouth. Loial doesn't seem to be thinking clearly, and he's not even human. It shows what kind of power she has. But every time she pushes just a little too hard, Rand's back stiffens and he resists her. She tries to act the way she thinks he wants her to, putting herself in harm's way so that he can rescue her, giving him praise and showing her need for him. But she just can't help herself. That's not who she is. And I'm not even saying that that's what Rand actually wants. If we look at who he eventually does fall in love with, they're not like that either. Celine almost loses her cool for just a minute. You always are so stubborn. Well, I can admire stubbornness in a man. There's little to a man who's too easily biddable. Well, I can kind of believe her there. But Rand is way more than stubborn. And their clash of wills is just too much, especially when you consider that their aims are completely different. Let's explore the theme of leadership a bit more, because these chapters are huge for Rand's development as a leader. He continues to show that he feels responsibility for Huron and Loial. He takes a risk upon himself of drinking the water before he will let them try it. He inadvertently makes a joke when Loyal says he doesn't like this place. As well, we don't mean to stay here then, isn't it? He sees the power this simple assurance has on Huron and even Loyal. Huron repeats it to himself and laughs over it, and even Loyal seems perkier. Rand notices that him being calmer and more carefree gives them confidence. Huron tells Rand that as a leader, he shouldn't wear himself out because he is needed to get them home. Huron also reacts oddly when Rand explains himself more than a lord typically would, and Rand picks up on that. Basically, little by little, Huron is teaching Rand what is expected of a strong leader, and Rand is responding to that. The part he struggles with the most is not taking risks with his own safety. When he hears Celine screaming, he takes off to help her without stopping to think, but he is growing more decisive and more willing to just give direction. He also stops telling people not to call him a lord. Part of that is him wanting Celine to see him as one, but also there's that part of him that deep down still sees himself as a shepherd. That's at the core of who he is, and I think that matters. He is becoming a lord and a leader as he needs to, but he also deep down doesn't believe that he is better than other people. Finally, there's a bit more humor in these chapters. Basically, every time Rand acts like an idiot around Celine, stammering and blushing and picturing her naked. Basically, at any moment, I can picture her saying to him, "Is that a heron-marked blade in your pocket, or you're just happy to see me, Rand?" Even Loyal stammers about how if there is such a thing as perfect human beauty in face and form, everything about the way they react to her is so exaggerated, almost cartoon-like. I love it, honestly.
I want to hear from all of you in the comments. What were your thoughts on Celine when you first read these chapters? Next up, I'll be covering chapters 18 through 21. This video I am releasing on a Monday because I'm still experimenting with which day is going to be best. Depending on any feedback I get from you and how the video does, I may or may not stick with that. As always, thanks for continuing on with me in this reread. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.